I started out my career as a National Guardman in El Campo, Texas. I lived there. I retired. I was born in Cuero, the turkey capital of the world. Like a fool, I dropped out of school, and I'm not proud of it. I wanted to learn a skill. I wanted money in my pocket. I wanted good clothes. I wanted to have a car. And I learned early in life that why dig a ditch when you can supervise the digging. So I joined the Texas National Guard.
Raul Roy Benavidez began a long and illustrious military career in the Texas Army National Guard during the Korean War. By 1965, Benavidez had joined the Army's 82nd Airborne Division and was on his way to South Vietnam to act as an advisor to an ARVN infantry regiment.
I stepped on a landmine, my first trip to Vietnam. I woke up at Clark Air Force Base in the Philippines. I was declared never to walk again. I was paralyzed from the waist down. So I used to slip out of bed at night, and I'd crawl to a wall, and I sat against the wall, and I backed myself up against the wall and stand there, trying to move my toes right and left, right and left. And I begged God to please help me. 7 months later, I walked out of that hospital. I walked out with a limp, but I walked out. I went back to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and I made 3 parachute jumps in one day, and I was ready, physically and mentally fit, to go back to Vietnam. In April of '68, I was inserted deep behind lines with another friend of mine to gather intelligence information of the enemy. My buddy on the second day got shot through the eye, the face, and the back, and I didn't want to leave him behind. So I called in for an extraction helicopter to come in and get us out. They come in with what we call a McGuire rig. It's nothing but a piece of rope that picks you up from danger to safety. In this case, there was 2 pieces of rope. And we have what we call a belly man. In this case, it was Leroy Wright. Sergeant Wright and I had been together for years. He couldn't look out that helicopter as we were coming out the canopy of the jungle. Our ropes had twisted. You know what nylon rope does when it rubs? It burns. And Sergeant Wright, a black non-commissioned officer, he looked out and he saw that 2 ropes were twisted and they were burning. He tied himself with what we call a belly band, and he pulled himself out of the helicopter. He worked himself down those 2 ropes, and he untangled those 2 ropes. That's love, a fellow man, dedication. And when I found out that Leroy Wright's team was trapped, I volunteered to go in and to get him out.
On May 2nd, 1968, Benavidez was at a forward operating base in Loc Ninh when word arrived of a 12-man intelligence gathering team that had been pinned down by superior NVA forces. 3 helicopters had already attempted to extract them, but were unable to land due to intense enemy fire. Racing to board a 4th rescue helicopter and realizing that all of the team's members were either wounded or dead, Benavidez directed the aircraft to a nearby clearing and leapt from the hovering vehicle to assist. Armed only with a knife and his medical bag, Benavidez ran approximately 75 meters under withering enemy fire and was hit several times in the attempt. Despite his own injuries, Benavidez administered aid to wounded team members and carried or dragged the others to the safety of the extraction helicopter. He also made certain to recover the fallen sergeant's body and secure the classified documents he was carrying. But while making his way back, the helicopter pilot was hit and the aircraft crashed. Now critically injured, Benavidez fought his way back to the wreckage, where he struggled desperately to free the wounded, form a defensive perimeter, and direct airstrikes to allow another rescue landing to be attempted. But it would be hours from the start of the action before that help would arrive.
I spent 6 hours, and pardon the expression, God, in hell. I got shot 5 times. I was hitting the mouth with the butt of the weapon. My jaws were locked. I was bayoneted on both arms. Helicopters after helicopters came in to get us out. The last helicopter that came to get us out, these officers, dedicated men like you, men and women, these officers, 4 of them volunteered to come and get us out. Our life was in their hands. This is dedication that we have with one another. When they pulled me out, they said that I was holding my intestines in my hand. I don't remember. I was so scared, so tired, that they let me lay on the floor of that chopper, and blood was flowing all around us. When we pulled up, blood was flowing out like an open socket. When we landed and they started identifying the bodies, they found out that I loaded 3 dead enemy soldiers by mistake. I didn't want to leave anybody behind. And so they let me lay next to the enemy soldiers, NVA, and they were putting them in body bags. And I couldn't talk. They were already put me in a body bag, and the zipper was coming up, and I couldn't tell this guy, hey, I'm still alive, man. I'm still alive. And my buddy, Jerry Cottenham, he went and got a doctor, grabbed him, and he made that doctor feel my heartbeat. When I felt that doctor's hand on my chest, I spit in his face. That's the only sign that I had, the only strength that I had to let him know that I was still alive.
Where did we find such men? We find them where we've always found them, in our villages and towns, on our city streets, in our shops, and on our farms. I have one more Vietnam story, and the individual in this story was brought up on a farm outside of Correo in DeWitt County, Texas, and he is here today. I learned of his story, which had been overlooked or buried for several years. It has to do with the highest award our nation can give, the Congressional Medal of Honor, given only for service above and beyond the call of duty.
It took 13 years for me to be recognized. But during those 13 years, I worked hand in hand with the Air Force, the Marines, the SEALs. I was an advisor to the reserve units, the National Guard. And my greatest accomplishment was to see that the officers and the non-commissioned officers work together. Wherever you're at, in civilian clothes or in uniform, we work together. We never let each other down. There was one question that I know you wanted to ask, but you didn't ask, and I'm going to answer it for you. Would you do it over again? I see some heads nodding over there. I'll answer you in this manner. There'll never be enough paper to print the money, nor enough gold in Fort Knox for me to have to keep me from doing what I did. We should never look at color of skin. The only color we should look at, right there, red, white, and blue. We're all Americans. I'm proud to be an American, and even prouder that I earned the privilege to wear the green beret. I live by the mantra of duty, honor,